Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be teaching you processing. So, the first thing you want to do is go to processing.org and click download processing. Then you're going to click no donation, and then you're going to click download. I already have it downloaded. And if you go into your downloads folder, this file, and then you're going to want to unzip it, and then you'll get this application. You're going to want to open it up, and it'll pretty much look like this. This is going to be a lot more advanced than my Scratch tutorials. This language is a lot like JavaScript, and today you'll be learning some simple stuff. What you're going to want to do is void setup. And this is basics to all your programs. And then you're going to do void draw, and then you can start drawing stuff. The first thing you're going to want to do is you can set the size using the size function. And you can put two numbers in them. You're going to want to put a comma in between them. And this is your X and your Y. So if I do 1,000 or 1,000 by 20, then you can see what it draws is this image that is 1,000 pixels by 20 pixels, 20 pixels tall. And then if I do like 30 by 20 and then run it, you'll get this little box. What I would suggest is 500 by 500. That'll give you a nice little square. A couple basic functions I want to go over. Maybe I want like a dark gray color. So you input 3 different numbers. The one on the far left, this one, this is your red content. So if you know how the colors of light work, there are the primary colors of light, red, green, and blue, and you can change the brightness of each one of those colors to make pretty much any color you want. And so this will give me a dark gray color. You always want to put a semicolon at the end of each line. Except for the void functions with the curly brackets. I'll get to that later. So the background is the red content on the far left, green content in the middle, and then the blue content at the right. So if you set all of those to 0, then there will be no light coming out of that pixel. And since the background is that color, that means that all of the pixels on the screen will be that color, unless you draw something else on it. So I'm going to get rid of these for now. And if I run this, then you can see that my square is completely black. And so if I wanted to make it red, then I can increase the red content to the max, which is 255. You can remember that because it's 2 to the power of 8 minus 1. So that means that this is red. And so you can mix colors too. It's different from mixing paint. So if you mix the red and the green, you don't get a brown but a yellow. If you mix green and blue, then what you get is a light blue. And if you get mixed red and blue, then you get a pink. And if all the colors contents are the same, you get a white, gray, or black. So as you can see, it's a nice gray right now. But you can increase it to like 255. And since all the content is max, then you get a white. And as we saw earlier, if you decrease it to 0, then you get a black. And so that's background. The next thing I want to discuss is the rectangle function. So what you need to do is add an x, a y, a width, and a height. And so this is in pixels. So as you can see, this is my rectangle, and it is 200 pixels across and 200 pixels down from the top left corner. And then from here, the rectangle is 50 pixels across and 100 pixels down, and that's the size of the rectangle. So you can kind of see how that works. And so if I set it to 125 and 100, you can see that changes the width and the height, but it's still the same distance from that top left corner. And so now I want to go over fill and stroke. So fill, if I do, this is, you give it a color, which is the three numbers, same three numbers as you give the background. And so this is a bright red, so you can see this fills the square red. And there's also the stroke, which is this black line at the edge. So if I change the stroke to, say, a green, then our rectangle will have a green edge. You can kind of see this edge. There's also a strokeWeight. This takes one number, and that's basically the thickness of the edge. So if I set it to 10, then you can see that the edge is a lot thicker, and you get this nice border. The next thing I want to go over is ellipse. So that's pretty much a mathy word for oval. And so what it does is it works kind of like the rectangle. Like, you can draw a rectangle around this and it'll be the same shape as the rectangle before, but it works differently in a specific way, which is that these coordinates are set at the very center of the ellipse versus the top left corner of the rectangle. So let's look at the rectangle again. So if you remember where the ellipse was, it was kind of like an oval around here, and then the rectangle is down here. The next thing I want to go over is line. So a line will go from point A to point B, and so you gotta give it those 2 points. If I do that, then you will go to 50 across and 50 down from the top left corner, and you go there, and then you go 100 across and 100 down to there, and then you draw a line between those 2 points. It's a pretty simple concept. And what it draws is it draws a line that's as thick as the stroke weight and the color of the stroke. So you gotta remember not to mix up the fill and the stroke. So the fill is the inside of a circle or square, and the stroke is the edge of a circle or square, or the color of the line. And so next there's a point. It takes an X and a Y. We'll just do 100 and 150. And so basically it pretty much draws a dot there. And so as you can see, here's our point. I think that about wraps it up. So next I'm going to cut to a part where I make a drawing using everything that we've used so far. See you in a second. I've made sort of this weird face guy, and there's just one other thing, which is noStroke. And noStroke, basically what it does is it just doesn't draw the stroke. So anything that's drawn using stroke, it doesn't draw it. Because of that, this rectangle won't have a line around it, neither will this ellipse. So what this does is it draws this kind of weird face guy. You can kind of see a rectangle, and so that goes from x200, y200 to x300, y500, which is here, and then it draws a circle over it, and so this is a dark red color. It is 150, 0, 0. And then it changes to this tannish color, which is 255, 200, 150. And then it draws the circle at the very center of the screen, 250, 250, because the size is 500 by 500. And so 500 divided by 2 is 250. And so this draws the center at the very center of the screen. And then it just has a width and height of 200. And then it sets the stroke, which undoes the noStroke. And then it changes the stroke weight to 10, so it's thicker. And then it draws some points. These are the eyes. And then it draws this line, which makes the mouth. And now if we look at it again, we can see the eyes and the mouth. The eyes are sort of this bluish color, and you'll see what I've done is trying to make the mouth the pinkish color. I've used fill instead of stroke. You shouldn't do that. I'm working with lines, so I need to use stroke. And now you can see when I run it that you get this pinkish mouth instead. And so that's about it for this tutorial. Bye.